Yeah, what's up, my beautiful people? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another Tyler Perry Sisters Review, Season 2, Episode 18, entitled When Is Midnight. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Thank you guys for commenting, all that good stuff. This might be the shortest review I've ever done. I hope I didn't speak too soon, but we shall see. This might be the shortest one. So y'all know how I do. Let's get right into this review. So, the episode opens up exactly where last week episode ends with Karen walking into Andy's apartment with Gary still there. So Gary is trying to explain to to Karen that he loves Andy. And Karen was like, yeah, go ahead. Like she wasn't trying to hear anything that he's saying, which I don't, I feel her because up until this point, everything she knows about Gary is negative, everything. Andy was like, you don't know him. You don't know nothing about him. At least he's trying, unlike your man. And we all know that she was referring to Zach. And, Karen was like, this is not about me. Then Karen sees the ring and Karen flips. Karen tries to put the ring down the darn sink. I said, Karen, sis, friend, you not even thinking, economically sound right now. At least go pawn it. You trying to put it down the drain, sis. What are you doing? And it looked like it was in the Tiffany's box. And for those of us that know, them rings are crazy expensive. So I'm like, Karen, I need you. I know you angry. I need you to, deal with sanity right now, baby, because you're making a real, real bad economical and financial hardship. Go pawn that ring. But I understood her anger and I understood her frustration. And I found it interesting that a lot of people were saying, like, this was the craziest thing I think I saw a comment for this particular episode. People were stating that Karen is jealous of Andy. And I think this is the episode that I saw most people defend Karen throughout this entire series. And, jealous of what though? What is she jealous of? And you can tell people who probably have never dealt with friends who are getting abused, and I have dealt with multiple friends being abused in every possible way imaginable. And there is a sense of fear because you feel like if I don't do something, there's a possibility that this man is going to kill her. He's going to take her life. But even with Karen, you got to get to that point where it's like, look, you can't control a grown person. They're going to do exactly what they want to do. There's nothing that you can do about it. You're either going to stand with them, you're either going to walk away, because sometimes it is challenging to be a friend to someone, who's getting their ass beat on a consistent basis. And they've already gone through this. And we know that Karen has already stated to Andy that she could not go through this with her again. And I'm like, Karen, you got to stand on your words and leave Andy be, because Andy wants to be with Gary. So another reason why, Karen kind of went off the deep end, because it's like, you going to marry this man. Well, I didn't tell him yes. Well, you didn't tell him no because the ring is still here. And so Andy definitely lives in a place where she has to have superiority over her friends and over those who are in her life. And I think that's one of the main reasons that she connects with Fatima so well, is because Fatima doesn't hold Andy accountable because she knows nothing about her. So it's easy to talk to Fatima because Fatima is not going to put her in her place. It's just like having, banter at work is nothing that is going to hold any weight in Andy's life. So that was just but that was a good scene though. I ain't gonna lie. That scene had me fired up. I think that was the best scene in the entire episode. That scene was it. Ebony and KJ did their thing on that scene. I really, really enjoyed that. And so that was really it. Karen told Andy that she needs to wake up. Andy told her that she needs to leave, and she was like, I don't want to fall out with you over Gary. And I'm like, boo, if y'all do fall out, it's not going to be over Gary. It's going to be because of you. Even in that, Andy, her innate nature is to deflect. Even in that, she deflected. I don't want to, fall out with you over Gary. It wouldn't be about Gary. It would be because of you. And Andy is a prime example of not giving a damn about her friends. Damn the fact that y'all had to go through this mess with me in college and seeing the black eyes and the bloody lips and the bruised ribs, the broken ribs in college. I don't care y'all had to see me through that. I want what I want, and I'm gonna get what I want. Damn everyone else, and that's just Andy's mentality. So she tells Karen to leave. Andy takes the ring, go in her room, close the door, tells Karen to leave again. So I'm gonna stick on that because the Aaron and Karen scene connects with this. So we see Karen in the car, and she's upset, of course. And her and Aaron made contact. He asked her, has she eaten anything? She hadn't. He said he would get some Italian food and come over. So she basically tells him that her and Andy got into a little tiff, and it didn't go well. And so he was like, hey, hold it in so I can be there to talk you through it. I said, Aaron, you better talk that talk, my dude. You better talk that talk. But see, you can't be talking like that and expect to be celibate. You can't do that. That's that get draws talk, Aaron. You can't do that, bro. But I love that. I love that he wanted to share whatever she was going through. So he shows up to the house, and and Karen is already on 10. Like, she don't like Gary, and I understand. She don't like Gary. She don't want Gary with Andy. He's no good for her. And, Aaron was kind of like devil's advocate almost, in a sense. And he was like, well, how do you know that? And Karen was like, because how he treats her. How does he treat her? I could respect the fact that Karen did not give detailed information about what she knows Gary has put Andy through. So it was almost, in a sense, like, and she also understands that Aaron is Gary's counselor. So there's only so much he can reveal anyway. So I think she was able to see that it was a pointless conversation to have in terms of what Gary has or hasn't done. And so Aaron kind of moved the conversation in the sense of, look, there's nothing you could do. You may not want them together, but that's not your call. You have to give them space to work this out and figure this out on their own. Basically, if Andy bumped her head, she just bumped her head. She needs her midnight experience, and that's where the title of the episode came from. There's nothing you can do, and that is a hard thing to accept, that you can't do anything. You either gonna just sit there and watch your friend, watch her downfall, you know what I'm saying, or continue to be there, and hopefully she has a triumphant ending. But it's not always like that, and I think Karen caught on. She understood where Aaron was coming from. But initially, she had a little attitude, and he was like, basically, I'm not going to talk to you like that. So she sat down. I love the way he mellows her out, because she was on one. And so after, he said what he had to say, she was just like, can you just, stop preaching and just hold me? And he was like, was I preaching or was I talking? She was like, well, you talk like a preacher, so it's the same thing. And Aaron was kind of like, I give up. So, he held her, and she said that he was so annoying. And he was like, am I really annoying? And she was like, a little bit. She was like, but it's something you can do to make it up to me. And the look on her face, hell, we all know what Karen want. We know what Aaron want too, but Aaron is trying to be celibate during this moment. And then they ran off in the room. They didn't even eat the food. So I'm like, where y'all went? What y'all did? We don't know, because that was the last time we saw them. So I guess we have to wait until next week to find out what happened on the saga in the bedroom with Karen and Aaron. All right, so who I want to deal with next? Let's go to who I want to do. Let's go to Jacoby and Sabrina. That scene was awkward as hell. The entire scene. I know last week in my review of Sisters, I stated that I love a little assertiveness and aggressiveness from men. Emphasis on a little bit. Jacoby was acting as if he was a virgin in desperate need of busting his first nut. I'm sorry. He was too eager. He was way too eager for me, and it made me believe that maybe there is a huge age gap between Jacoby and Sabrina. I remember a couple or a few episodes ago, she asked him how old he was, and he was like, basically, why does that matter? I'm like, Sabrina, when you get to work tomorrow, sis, I'm gonna need you to go on his information and look up that birth date, because it may be like, all the women are 36. Jacoby may be like 26, 27, because I'm like, he was just too eager for the moment to come. And yes, he was trying to get Sabrina drunk. I don't think he's no rapist or nothing like that, as a lot of as a lot of the comments said. But something I'm like, Jacoby, you just need to calm down, my dude. Just calm down, because you doing way too much. So when he gets ready to leave, he gives Sabrina a hug. So Sabrina was like, her eyes just popped up, and she was like, what was that? And he was like, what? And she was like, you hard right now? And he was like, Sabrina, I'm a man. And she was like, that wasn't your phone. And he held his phone in his hand, and he was like, that was too much girth to be my phone. You want to see it? I said, Jacoby, bruh, what you doing? I said, Sabrina, these are all red flags. First of all, you're his supervisor. There's a conflict of interest right there. He should have never been in your home. But when Sabrina found out that Jacoby was packing like that, I said it's only a matter of time before she falls into temptation. Because you work with him. You're going to be around him. You're going to be fantasizing about what you felt. And so when he was getting ready to leave, she was like, can you cover that up? Because I have neighbors. And he was like, well, you didn't want to see it. And she was like, well, I know there's people on the moon who can see that. I said, what? Oh, it's about to be on and popping. I ain't never heard nobody describe somebody's penis like that. There's people on the moon who can see it. Sabrina, let Jacoby get out your house. Let him run. And baby, you stay far, far, far away. Because see, penis like that make you crazy. You don't want nothing that can be seen from outer space, baby. Leave Jacoby and his monster penis the hell alone. And that was really it with that scene. It wasn't much. So let's get to Maurice. That was a short scene as well. Maurice goes to the club, and while he's there, he asks James, why did he lie on Calvin about taking meth? And so I'm really interested in this, because James was like, I know what I saw, and I know who I saw, and Calvin was using meth. And I'm just like, there was nobody else at the club that we saw that James could have gotten Calvin mixed up with. So I'm so interested in that dynamic, because something just doesn't make sense with that. And so he was like, Calvin was here today. And so the little white dude confirmed that, yes, Calvin was there with this dark-skinned man who was supposedly very attractive. And so, Maurice is like, well, he told me he was going out on a date with the girl. And so the white boy was like, well, there was no girl here with Calvin, and that he was here with the guy. And so, Maurice was kind of like, and left it alone. And so there's a new character whose name came up, at least I believe. I don't ever remember hearing the name Juan, but it seems like it's an ex of Maurice's, so maybe we'll see that come up. Maybe Maurice is getting a love interest or something like that. Maurice needs something to do, because he's just in people's business. He needs a hobby. He needs something to fill his time up, because he's not getting stimulated in any other place other than being messy and having drama all around him due to other people's business, not even his. So, Danny, God, Danny is so doggone exhausting. And this is the first episode that I have seen so many people, speak on they wasn't feeling her behavior at dinner. So, for me, people know I love all the sisters, but Andy is my least favorite one, but Danny is right there above her. And I just feel like at some point in time, if Danny doesn't make like drastic changes, she's going to lose Preston. Because with any other person, your patience grow thin with people that you have to deal with and say the same things over and over and over again. And I do find it interesting, because you had a whole lot of people who was not feeling Danny. But then, of course, you have the other side of the coin where people consistently give Danny passes like, oh, well, she doesn't want to get hurt. Do any other sisters do? Other than Andy, of course, she's a pain freak. She loved being hurt. Popped upside the head, squeezed till she passed out. That's her junk right there. That's her jish. Andy don't mind being hurt physically. But I'm like, the other people ain't trying to get beat up. And I'm just like, or even with Danny and her vulnerability and having a fear of falling in love, a fear of being open with people, that is something that a lot of people feel. That's a universal thing. Because if I let my guard down, is he going to hurt me? If I tell him or if I tell her how I really feel, is she going to laugh at me? So there are so many aspects to that. I'm like, Danny shouldn't be getting no passes. I feel bad for Preston. Nobody should have to deal with that. Danny is exhausting. She is exhausting, but because and then the thing was she was mocking how they speak, and I said if somebody mocked her language or mocked her mannerisms, she'd be screaming racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I wasn't feeling Danny at all. I could and I did appreciate the last scene with Preston and Danny, but I'm like, see, it needs to be flipped. These conversations should come first. You know, you got people playing the guessing game. You want him to leave. You want him to go. Then when he grabbed his bag, where are you going, Preston? What does it matter? You said you wanted him to go. Well, I don't want you to go. Baby girl, mean what you say and say what you mean. We already know the history of Preston. You tell him something, he take it as face value. He doesn't see the double meanings of the word. You want him to go, he's going to leave. This is what he does. We know this. Danny, you need to know this. So I really would like to see, I know their situation and no one's situation is going to be perfect, but I'm like, I would enjoy seeing the maturity level upgrade and stay there. Just please. And I think, and it's, you know, the way that Tyler writes, because he drags it out. So it feels like we're watching these immature personalities and these immature mindsets just stick. And it's been 2 years. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this has got to stop. You know, but Danny is Danny. I mean, that's pretty much all I can say. Danny is Danny. So, Fatima, I ain't gonna lie. We see that Zach gets out of jail. We kind of expected him to. Fatima gave the read of the entire series, okay? I can't even front. Fatima read Hayden from A to Z and back again. Fatima read the hell out of him, and I wasn't mad at sis. I wasn't mad at her because, you know, I think that Hayden got that Napoleon syndrome because he's a short man. I'm like, baby, I was so glad she crushed him in the best way possible. Hit him where it hurt. Hit him in the sex game. And yo, have erect penis ain't it. I said, well, doggone, baby. I'm glad you finally said something about his sex game, because Hayden was thinking he was Big Mac Cadillac, and he wasn't. You was Lil Soul Pinto with your game. So I'm glad Fatima did that. And, you know, like I said, Zach is out of jail. He came back to Fatima's house. She told him, you know, what happened. And his concern is, you know, he knows people like Hayden, and they don't stop. They don't stop until they get what they want. He was concerned about that, which rightfully so. I don't blame him. And so, you know, he was about to go take a shower. He asked Fatima, did she want to join? She declined because she had to ask a favor of a friend to get her hair done the last time. And she wasn't trying to go through that. So Zach was like, you know, just wait up for me, so on and so forth. So a lot of so people, I've been more engaging on these Facebook posts. So a lot of people know that I don't. Fatima cool, like, you know, she cool, whatever. But you know, I don't rock with her like that. And so I got about 3 messages about what can you say about Fatima now. She got Zach out of jail. I don't care. I don't care. Fatima is gonna get hurt in the end, and I said this a few episodes ago in one of my reviews, because Fatima likes Zach. She tried to play hard all that. No, she likes Zach. She really does. But she doesn't know anything about Zach. And so even in the upcoming preview, she tells him, you know, he asked, are you getting serious? Like, we're getting serious. And she was like, I haven't felt this way about someone in a long time. And my whole thing is, what has Zach done? What has Zach done for Fatima to feel the way that she feels? Everything about that situation is lopsided. Everything. I had someone, we going back and forth, you know, in the friendly debate. And I asked, you know, she was like, well, you know, Zach is a good man and he's made some changes. I said, other than getting involved in chain breakers, what changes has Zach made? Zach still boning somebody he don't even know without a condom. He's been doing that. Zach is staying with this woman. Ain't no different than what he's been doing. He ain't helping. I ain't seen him putting out, well, damn grocery, nothing in the house since he been there. What is he doing? The night after he had sex with Fatima, he insinuated that she was a hoe. These, you know, I'm going to say abusive languages, he's still doing it. He said everything but you a hoe. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's not that I'm so against him, but I think when you say someone is making changes, you should be able to clarify and describe and speak on them. To let the world know. You know what I'm saying? Let the world know what he's done, because I don't see it. And a whole bunch of people don't see it, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm making sure I got everything. Because this was an interesting episode. They definitely started out on fire with Karen and Andy. And I just really do want to say, because like I stated, I have dealt with being Karen so many times. And the hardest thing is we know we can't control, but when it gets to the point that you have to relinquish whatever influence you think you have, it's hard. So I am so interested in seeing how Karen handles this, because in next week's episode, we see that she calls the girls to the shop, it looks like, before she opens, to let them know what's going on with Andy. Sabrina was like, we need to do an intervention. Like, they all hype. They all on like 10. Instead of saying, someone being the voice of reason to say, hey, we've gone through this before. Andy knows where we stand. It's like their whole life stops when Andy has an issue. No, let Andy go through this. Let's love her as she goes through this. But we're not going to be there to try to stop no, let it happen. You want to get married? Marry him. You see what he did to his first wife? What makes you think you're so different? And even with a lot of people, oh my God, Aaron got so much backlash. He's defending Gary. He's doing this. And my whole thing is this. Some people right now are in a relationship with some man who went upside their head years ago. They did whatever they had to do to reform themselves, to get themselves on track, and they're living a blessed life. I've never believed in that once a cheater, always a cheater. And I've never believed that if you did something like that, that you should be forever marked as a woman beater or a man beater. Because there are some women who beat men. There are some men who, it doesn't matter what the woman do, spit in their face, I've seen it, and they would not lay a hand on them. I don't understand that type of I don't understand that. That is some strong resilience that I don't have. And I would never ask to give it to me. Never ask God to give it to me. I don't want it. Because I'm like, that's crazy. That is absolutely insane. But it's hard to let go. And I want to see what Tyler is going to do, because what he has allowed Gary to do to Andy. How do you rebuild this character in the eyes of your fans? How do you do that? What is he going to do? Like, how is that going to work? So I am interested, and I do believe that Tyler does has his work cut out for him as to how he's going to redeem Gary in front of us. Last but not least, y'all know I wasn't going to forget about this. So when Maurice comes home, he hears some action. There's some action going on in Calvin's bedroom. We hear the bed springs, bouncing, making that sound that they make when something is going on top of them. And then we see the chocolate man come out that the people at the club was speaking of. And Maurice was like, Calvin in there having sex with a man. So he done got turned on by listening. And dude come out and was like, yeah, dude in there, we about to go on round 4. I said, what? And that's how the show went off. And I'm like, what the hell? But we all know Tyler. So a lot of people are expecting a twist to happen. Like, oh, that wasn't Calvin in there. That was somebody else. Oh, it's a girl in there with them. That's even, what? I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to speculate on that, because I don't know what was going on. Somebody was having sex. That's what I do know. That's what I do know. So Tyler, don't try to play or insult our intelligence with some crazy thing you came up with about Calvin. Okay? Because that did trip me out. And we saw, I don't know if you guys saw, but on one of the previews, Sabrina calls Calvin and let him know that Maurice told me about you. Why the hell are you calling Calvin? Calvin is not your man. You are not seeing Calvin. Who the hell are you to call and chastise him about how he's living his life? And Maurice always in somebody's business. Always starting stuff. And I'm like, and Sabrina was like, well, I'm still feeling Calvin. Sabrina. I got to check myself, because I always say in the episode, Sabrina gets on my nerves the most, but she ain't came down on my likable meter. It's still Karen. It's Karen, Sabrina, Danny, then Andy. But Sabrina works a nerve. Sabrina works a hell of a nerve. I don't understand why Jacoby was at her house, but I'm gonna get off that because I don't even want to go back on that. I want to debate this quick. I think this is probably the shortest one I've done at 24 minutes. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. This was a very interesting episode. I think we have 4 left until the season finale. So I do want to thank everybody who has been DMing me um ideas for different videos. So I'm definitely gonna take those into consideration, and I'm definitely gonna do some of them because they were great suggestions. I will make. Someone asked me to do like smaller videos from one particular part of the episode, and I will do that. I may do like 2 or 3 per episode, so you guys will be looking out for that. I have more sister videos coming out, and yeah, that's all I wanted to say. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you guys for listening always. I appreciate the support. I think I touched on everything I wanted to touch on. If not, y'all can put them in the comments, and I will holler at y'all later. Y'all be safe out there. One.